couple of things. I think we have a clip here, so I want to play this for you.
Sure.
And maybe give me your reaction with respect to, and he said this a couple of weeks ago, right, about having dialogue with the English community. Here you go.
I need to be able to tell you, even though you disagree. I need to keep on telling you that you're part of Quebec and you are a very significant and important part of Quebec. And you will say, well, you have a funny way of showing it to us. I can understand again, but I want to be able to repeat to you that you are an important part of Quebec. The English-speaking community is an important part of Quebec. We need to keep on talking, even though we disagree sometimes.
Tom, I'm not entirely sure, but I think he may have had his fingers crossed behind his back when he said that.
Well, I'm taking away from that quote that he's going to vote against Bill 1, the Quebec Constitution, being put forward by François Legault. Because, of course, if you read the very deep piece by Andy Riga on the front page of today's Gazette, you'll see just what they're up to with that law and why so many people, lawyers and smart folks who have been reading these things, realize that it excludes the English-speaking community. Now, of course, people like Drainville will say, no, read Article 3. Everybody who's here is a Quebecer. But, of course, trying to obliterate any reference to or inclusion of the 1 million strong English-speaking community of Quebec is a bit of a problem, and it's an absolute contradiction with what, Mr. Drainville would have us believe. Like, he doesn't even have to have his fingers crossed. I just happen to know that it's not true because unless, of course, I'll retract everything I just said if Drainville goes in and votes against Bill 1. But I don't think that's going to happen, Aaron.
By the way, we didn't talk a lot about the leadership race in the CAQ right now. I mean, the numbers are pretty clear. Christine Frechette is significantly ahead. But, it's early. And the part I did bring up, Tom suggested that someone had an LCN analyst actually had said he's so far behind. In fact, he's thinking he might give up early, which, of course, doesn't strike me as a thing that Bernard Drainville would do. But regardless, he said, wait a sec. Let's wait. There are 2 French debates between he and Christine Frechette. And that perhaps will allow him to, I guess, get his message across because it's certainly not working now.
Well, it's not working now. And for a guy whose main asset is supposed to be his communication skills, because he was for a long time at Radio-Canada and then he was on 98.5, a popular French radio station, he showed up a couple of days ago in a press conference and held in his hands a paper on which was written a blistering personal attack against his adversary, Christine Frechette. I'm sort of going, okay, so this guy's main asset is supposed to be as a communicator, but he can't even communicate something that's that basic for his leadership race, and he's got to read it off a piece of paper. I'm not sure I was convinced that this guy's got even that skill down pat. Look, it's turning into a bit of a mess, that race. He tried to make people believe that this idea of a bridge tunnel at Quebec City, which is actually quite important, I'm in favor of it, is a question of the DNA of the CAQ. Well, that dossier has been such a freaking mess for them for the past years. That's why they started to drop like a rock in water in the polls, because they just outright lied to Quebecers about what they were doing around that thing. So Christine Frechette took a very reasonable position. She says she's going to take the time to consult and speak with people and reflect on it. Well, that's when Bernard Drainville had this personal attack against her. She was, this was terrible. She's insulting the CAQ and she's offside and it's all terrible. And I guess my takeaway was, okay, for Bernard Drainville, thinking about something is actually a problem. You're just supposed to shoot the puck, even if you haven't got it. Look, they don't have any idea where this thing is supposed to go. It's sort of this vague notion of a corridor somewhere near the island of Orleans. They have no idea how much it's going to cost. Initial estimates, for whatever that's worth, are between $7 and $11 billion. This just in. Our hospitals and our schools are in sad shape. Before we spend anything near that, and if it starts at $11 billion, it'll finish at $25, the way things go. Before we do that, we better make sure that we've got the rest of our ducks in order, but we don't. By the way, just if you know the Quebec City area a bit, slightly downriver, so just, east of the city, there's this magnificent island of Orleans. It had to have its bridge replaced. There was a small bridge to get you across to that island. Well, believe it or not, we're just replacing that small-ish bridge from the North Shore to the island of Orleans is going to cost you and me and other Quebec taxpayers the modest sum of $1.4 billion with a B. So why not use, because from there, you cross the whole island of Orleans, which is fairly wide right as that thing arrives. It would save you a couple of kilometers at least. And then you could have another bridge connecting from the other end of the island of Orleans to the south shore. You know who made that proposal? Éric Duhem, the head of the Conservative Party of Quebec. One gets the impression that it's because it comes from the Conservative Party that this, to my view, the best proposal that's been made so far, has been rejected out of hand by the Legault and the people around him. I'm anxious to see whether Christine Fréchette can reach out to him and try to see if if that proposal can actually fly. Because, of course, they'll say, well, it's not the biggest type of bridge, but what they've put on the table so far repeatedly over the past 8 years has just been a bunch of baloney, and none of it's gone anywhere. So with regard to whether or not this is the most existential question facing Quebec, a bridge at Quebec City, it's a darn important question. But for the whole province, our health system doesn't work.
Yeah. Our
schools are falling apart. And let's get back to some of the basics about what governing is supposed to be about.
When did bridges start costing $1 billion, by the way?
We have to see just how small this bridge is. And I think that the Île aux Tourtes is going to come in several billion. Jeez. As will the redoing the tunnel, the La Fontaine tunnel.
Yeah.
It's just that this work has gotten out of control. The bidding process is out of control, and the $1.4 billion was an outrage. And there's a company in Beauce that makes a lot of the materials for this, and they have experience, and they've built something similar. But the government went straight to this other company. So it really is vexing when you know that something like Hospital Maisonneuve-Rosemont has had its renewal, it's refurbishing, postponed. And here we're talking a couple of $100 million that are the most basic element to get it going. And all they've done so far is replace the parking lot. And look, Aaron, I spent a big chunk of my life in government and in Quebec City. And I have to say that I've always had admiration for the quality of the civil service in Quebec City. But it's the political side. It's the people who are in the top offices. It's the people they put in as their deputy ministers. The place is falling apart. And it used to be that the Quebec Civil Service, to my mind, was a notch ahead of all the others. But right now, I think that it's really starting to show that we just don't know how to get anything done. We can't build a bridge. We just can't get stuff done.
I'm going to recommend we go back to catapults. I think perhaps that's something worth looking at. Modern-day catapults, perhaps with soft landing, but for another time.
Maybe a chair lift over the
also excellent, yeah, for a car lift. I mean, these are things that should be looked into. Tom, who is Jamil Giovanni, and why are we talking about him?
Well, you know Jamil Giovanni because he used to be one of your colleagues on the iHeartRadio network. He had a show, and I used to be on, and it was always played on CJAD.
Never met him. Okay.
I have. I've been on the air with him many times. He is one of the most engaging people. He had a bit of a run-in with the higher-ups at our mutual employer. Yeah. I literally, it's not to avoid talking about it. I don't know what the details of it are, but it didn't go well. And he went into politics. He's a conservative, more of the progressive conservative ilk. Very, very smart guy. I found him super engaging. I've been on his show any number of times. Always loved being on with him. And when the thing fell apart, I was quite sad because I really thought he had a very interesting and original voice. So he is now a member of Parliament with the Conservatives of Pierre Poilievre, and he is a lifetime friend and close friend of U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance.
Right.
They went to university together at an Ivy League, and they were roommates. So when it's one of these things, in politics you hear this, oh yes, I know so and so very well, and you ask so and so because you happen to know, and they go, never heard of him. No, these guys are really buddies, and he was down there in Washington, so. He was, doing his work as a member of the opposition and using his contacts and getting a little bit of profile for the Conservatives, which, of course, had the Liberals setting their hair on fire saying, this is just terrible. He's down there talking with the Americans. Well, guess what? Talking with the Americans is actually a good thing. And he came back with a very positive message. So I think that the Liberals better prendre leur gaz égal. Take it easy, man. This guy's He's not doing anything against Canada. He's, in fact, using his very real connections to keep the lines of communication open and back off. The guy did. So it's not an act of treason. It's an act of hope for getting things more in order between Canada and the United States. And I say, way to go, Jamil Giovanni.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Tom, thank you so much. You have a great weekend.
I'm Dylan Playfair.
And I'm Tyler Smith.
We're putting loneliness in the penalty box by talking to some of our favorite athletes about the importance of friendship.
This is Bromance.
Bromance is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers, proudly Canadian-owned and operated. Charm has been part of your love stories and bromances for over 50 years. And you can find Bromance on the iHeartRadio network or wherever you get your podcasts.